Recording process. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. It's my pleasure to introduce Eli, who is one of the students conducting a research project with me this summer on quantum technologies and the ethics of variational quantum algorithms specifically. Today, Eli is going to be giving a presentation while on this week's reading, which was Virginia Eubanks' phenomenal book, Automating Inequality. And so we're going to be discussing that reading as well as potential connections to quantum technology, what quantum computers might mean in this larger context. Eli, when you need me to go to the next slide, just say next and take it from here.
Okay, so yes, today's talk is on building the digital poorhouse with quantum technology. Next. And our reading was Automating Inequality by Virginia Eubanks. So this is a physical poorhouse from the 1850s to the 1950s. They were a place where the poor and the homeless were forced to. Conditions were not good. The idea was that the conditions are so bad that people wouldn't be poor because they don't want to live there. Next slide, please. So what does this have to do with us as technologists? Like, this seems like a pretty long time ago. This seems like a physical building. What does technology have to do with this? Next slide. Virginia Eubanks proposes that we now have the technology to build these digital poorhouses, which are abstractions of the physical poorhouses we used to have that while the physical poorhouses imposes rules with like the government and the superintendents that look over them, digital poorhouses also impose rules by the way technology is structured and makes decisions about people via the technology systems that we are forced to live in. And these rules are set up by computers or people who make these technologies. So we want to consider, like, is this house an equal house for everyone? Is this a good house to live in? Next slide. Virginia Eubanks proposes a gut check for the economic and social implications of any technology we create, which has to do with, does the tool increase the self-determination and agency of the poor, and would the tool be tolerated if it was targeted at non-poor people? One of the emerging technologies these days is AI art, and we could apply these two questions to AI art. So does the tool increase the self-determination and agency? Generally not, because AI art takes art often without permission from artists who use art to make their living, and denies them a job and replaces them. As well, would the tool be tolerated if it was targeted at non-poor people? Also, generally not, because if you say use AI art to make a whole Disney movie, Disney is not going to be happy about that. Next slide. Okay, yes. So who do these tools benefit? You should consider questions such as that. Now, this fight for equality with regards to income, with regards to poor, with social classes, has been going on for a very long time. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. talked about it. And in his speech, he mentions that we are having a social revolution, a political revolution, as well as a technological revolution. It seems like nowadays we are facing the same problems of having a technological revolution, and we need to ask ourselves, how do we deal with this, and how do we move forward? Next slide, please. There are still summits, conversations going on today about how technology affects the poor people and the Disney franchise, such as this one, which I believe was 2012, and giving voices to the people who aren't listened to, who the technology negatively affects. Next slide. So if we apply this back to AI art, the University of Chicago has created a tool for artists that helps protect their art by making it harder for machine learning to learn their art style. And if we apply these two gut checks questions to this technology now, does the tool increase the self-determination and agency of the poor? Yes, it does, because now people's livings are protected. And was the tool tolerated if it was targeted against the non-poor? Also yes, because corporations also don't want their stuff stolen. Next slide. So how does this relate to our new developing technologies with regards to quantum computing and what our focus is in this reading group, variational quantum algorithms, right? So a lot of new technology nowadays looks to automate jobs like art, as we just talked about, but also like chatbots, things like that. And why do we do it? Robots are smarter than humans. Robots have access to a lot more data. Robots work harder than humans. Robots don't need breaks. And in the eyes of many companies, robots are just better than humans. But more importantly, robots are cheaper than you. And this provides a great incentive for companies to get rid of humans and replace them with automation. And we want to consider how does this affect the humans. Next slide. This is a pretty recent example too. An eating disorder helpline had their staff unionized and then fired them all. 6 days later, they had to revert this chatbot decision because it was giving like terrible advice.
So just to clarify, so they fired their staff, replaced them with a chatbot.
Yes.
Assuming that the chatbot would give people with eating disorders therapeutic advice.
Yes.
And that lasted how many days?
6 days.
6 days, okay.
Not good. And next slide. Okay, and we can see there are many examples. If you want to go through it, yes. AI could be used for debtors to go after people who owe them money. AI might create a hiring bias. And with regards to quantum technology and the quantum variation algorithms, they have applications in speeding up these AI machine learning applications. And even from Joe's research project, we have seen that over 20% of variational quantum algorithms have applications in machine learning. So considering the applications of machine learning is also a step in considering the consequences of variational quantum algorithms. And as we were talking about how individual people's, like the oppressed people's voices matter in creating tools to make things more equitable, currently technology, this quantum race doesn't seem very equitable and doesn't seem to be raising voices very much. Currently 17 countries have invested in this technology, the big three being US, China, and the European Union in general. But what about all these other countries? Like, are they going to be left behind, or will they be considered? Also, the US is looking to kind of defeat their competition. So say the US does succeed in that, are they going to be considering the poor people, the disenfranchised people in other countries? So quantum technology is still in its infancy. From this table, we can see that even in 2020s, the biggest quantum computer we have is only 128 qubits. That doesn't do much. So moving forward, what standard should we set moving forward before this technology becomes big and before it becomes widespread use?
This is an important point from the research that we should maybe circle and highlight. Because we're trying to figure out, what can quantum computers do in the near term? And the answer that we're getting is not much, not a lot. The technology doesn't work very well. And so the question is, with AI, people came with ethics after the technology already started working. And that's gone super well for them, clearly. AI is so ethical. So maybe this means that we should, at this early stage in the development of this technology, we should start thinking about these standards now. Which is a really good point in my opinion.
But these technologies affect a lot, not just jobs, but also in this example proposed by a publication Deloitte in 2012, like technology can be used for surveillance in order to incarcerate one person, maybe 5 people would be like surveillance using technology.
Surveil.
Sorry. And basically, we want to think about, is technology also increasing or like perpetuating the systematic violence or biases against people with, bigger effects, like literally locking people up physically too.
And taking it back to the questions that you were, the kind of gut check questions that you proposed, does this increase the agency of the poor? If you can incarcerate 5 times as many people, maybe not.
So Virginia Eubanks then proposes 6 wrong side. So here are 6 fundamental rights that maybe we should think about when creating technologies. Does it help people like get a decent job? Does it help them get minimum income? Does it give them adequate education, a decent house, letting them participate in decision making in their lives, and the right to benefits of modern science? As we've talked about previously in different algorithms, things like modern science, well, a lot of studies will miss like women, Black people, because they are focused on white males, or things like decent jobs. We just talked about how AI maybe prevents people from being hired.
Joan, Asiema is saying that they can hardly hear the presenter. Maybe speak up a little bit more.
A little louder, I guess.
A little louder, sorry.
The room is supposed to be able to hear us, but I guess I should have also given you this.
Okay, how do I?
I don't think you are you using.
Yeah,
this?
no, not anymore.
You can just kind of hold it.
Okay,
Audience, is that clear for you all? Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
sorry about that.
I think we can maybe proceed. I don't see anything. Us says that is better.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. New room.
No, thank you all. Yeah, new room. We're different acoustics.
Yes, should I repeat that slide then, or?
Maybe paraphrasing, like quick summary.
Yeah, so here are like 6 fundamental economic rights that were proposed that we should maybe consider when developing new technologies, and also examining existing technologies in that whether they perpetuate these biases or whether they help these people. And bring it back to Virginia Eubanks' book in Automating Inequality and this digital poorhouse, we should also like unite people and listen to their different experiences. One of the current movements for the rights of poor people proposes that if you lack any single one of these 4, healthcare, housing, living wage job, or quality education, you are considered poor. In order to like unite everyone, unite both the working class and the poor peoples, and that there isn't a hard divide. Next slide.
I like this slide, like this point that you're making, because for some folks who may not be aware, quantum technology is one of the least diverse fields I'm aware of. Technology in general is very non-diverse, and quantum, because it's so new, because mostly it's the most privileged programs in schools that have had the resources to start teaching about quantum technology. It's even more white and male and privileged. And the recipe for disaster there is that these groups are going to create technological systems for digital houses that don't have any idea what the true actual needs are of communities of color or other marginalized groups.
I don't know, like, can people hear you speak, or should I repeat that?
I'm loud, I don't know.
Okay. So then Virginia Eubanks proposed this oath of non-harm for technologists in the age of big data. And there's a lot of points. And it basically just boils down to like respecting people, listening to their stories, knowing that they are the expert in their lives, as well as using the skills to help them and help elevate them. Being aware of disadvantages faced by like underprivileged people, patterns of racism, classism, ableism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, et cetera, and designing with these ideas and these histories in mind. Next slide. She also proposes that in terms of collecting data, to not collect data for the collection of data's sake, in that actually use it like, have a purpose for the data and a purpose that helps people, but also in collecting data, keeping in mind that these are not actually data points, they are representing of real people, and just to keep that humanity in mind. And next slide. So as a bit of historical context, here is the global income distribution in 1988 and the global income distribution in 2011. And here, I'm not sure how visible, is the poverty line. And here is the poverty line in 2011. So as you can see that in general, things have been moving above the poverty line. Things are getting better in general for the world. But as we are introducing this new technology, this new quantum technology with algorithms that are faster, are we going to keep up this trend of helping people, or are we going to kind of create a bigger divide and create technologies for the benefit of the rich, but not at all helpful for the poor?
So just to make sure I'm reading this figure right, so there's this really thin, for people online, there's this really thin red line on the left-hand side of each figure. If you're to the left of that, you are poor.
Yes, you are under the poverty line.
And so the main point is that there's now a lot more population on the right-hand side of the poverty line. That's the takeaway?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And we're asking, like, we want to consider this trend, but is our technology that we are creating going to allow us to continue increasing the kind of livelihood and the quality of life for people in general all over the world? And yep, that is the end. Thank you for listening.
You want to stop the recording?